What is going on, guys? MJ2005 Gundam here, and today I'm going to be unboxing the P-Bandai TR-1 Hyzenthlay. Now, this thing finally came in the mail today. Yes, it was a little bit late when compared to when the model shops received it. So, yeah, it's a little bit odd. However, it eventually arrived. So, yeah, this thing, I've been looking forward to this. But then Bandai did the scummy thing of announcing the P-Bandai TR-1 Hyzenthlay Raw 2 that's going to be coming out in November or December if you're outside of Japan. So this thing right here, FYI, it does cost something like 360 Hong Kong dollars if you're buying it locally. So I don't remember the original price of it in the web shop. I think it's like somewhere in the N200s, but it is just expensive when considering the fact that this thing is a TR-1. And of course, due to the jumbo box, I have to lift off my mic. Of course, there's nothing really interesting on the sides of the box, so let's take a look at the inner contents. First of all, we have A plate number 1, and this thing is gonna get me really worried. The A plate from the Primrose. Obviously, you can see some of the sections chopped off from the Primrose plate because you do not need all of them. But this thing is going to be using the Primrose chest, and I am not really too sure if the fins are going to be used. I haven't taken a detailed look at the manual yet. So this thing is really going to get me a little bit worried, and I don't think you get all the parts to build a second cannon, but you do get a second missile pod over here. So if you want to build kind of like the Hazel Owl's gigantic arms configuration, you can actually have the 2 missile pods. But for the cannons, I think you're shit out of luck in this case. Okay, down to A plate number 2. We've all seen this before. This is from the original TR-1 Hazel. Next up, we have B plate number 1. This is also from the original TR-1 Hazel, so obviously you can see all the old parts. However, the image that is illustrated in the P-Bandai webshop says that this thing is going to contain like about 75 or 85%, I really can't do math, a lot of new parts. That's what I'm going to say, a lot of new parts. This is B1 plate. This is also from the Primrose. Unfortunately, there is no cannon cap, but you do get the angled, the angled trigger finger hand, just in case you want to arm this thing with a long blade rifle. You guys know the versatility of the Hazel frame, especially if you have all of the collection, so yeah, it is really all up to you guys. And now we have C plate. This is obviously from the original Hazel. It's not really too special. I think the plastic quality is a little bit higher, but it's been a while since I have interacted with my Hazels, so yeah, this bunny is looking to be a pretty middle of the road kit. And then we have the D plate right here with the usual hands and stuff from the original Hazel, being molded in the KPS plastic. So it's nothing really too special if you built the previous 2 versions of the P-Bandai Hazel. And next up, we have the C2 plate. I forgot about this. This is so minuscule, which is basically the cap of the Composite shield booster. This thing even says it's from the Woundward, so yeah. Next up, we do have the E1 and E2 plate. These are completely new plates for the TR-1 Hyzenthlay. So the E2 plate is a copy of this part right here. So obviously you can see a lot of resemblances to the Woundward. In this case, obviously you do have the Composite shield booster, but this fin is not going to be movable, unlike the TR6. And then you do obviously have the face, and I think you have the original. Wait a minute. Okay. I was thinking whether or not I can convert this back into the original Hazel with updated joints. Let me try it out later on, but as for all I know, these are new parts. I really can't tell whether or not I could convert it. And then next up, we do have the, what is this? This is the F1 plate over here with all of the dark blue, which looks pretty nice. This thing is newly molded for the Hyzenthlay TR-1. So even though these pieces look very similar to the TR6, they are completely new. Hopefully these pieces can accommodate the Hyrudu 2s, but I think they could because of the fact that Bandai are going to be releasing the Hyzenthlay Raw 2. The TR-1. Yeah, it's confusing. Even the order of the names can get you in trouble, but that's just how it is. And of course, you have the F2 plate with some more gear. Okay, so it's a copy of this part right here. I'm kind of messy in the brain today, but yeah, more new parts. And then next up we have is the G plate over here, and this is where most of the new inner mechanics come into play. So obviously you see here the universal joints. Thank God they decided to update the mold on the Hazels instead of just re-releasing the old ones. And of course here we have the dummy hands for the crotch subarms. So I don't think you're gonna be having any manipulator fit in there that can actually hold stuff. So unfortunately they're going to be permanently folded in. But correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just going off assumption here. And then next up we do have the G2 plate, which is a copy of a part that I forgot. Now yes, this is a big box, so missing out all the duplicate plates. And then here we have the H plate over here, basically for all of the parts for the updated composite shield booster. Well, this composite shield booster is made for the TR-1, so you can use it on your older Hazels if you want to. Next up we have the I1 and I2 plates over here, one for yellow, one for red. And this is obviously for the chest, and of course we do have this thing right here. It looks as though, yeah, a lot of yellow. And a new V-fin. I wonder how that's going to play. I think it is for the new helmet, I'm not really too sure, but I'm going to check it out later on. And then of course we do have the older, even older sheet of polycaps, so that's a little bit of cause for concern, but from what I know, the polycaps back in the day are too good for their own good. So yeah, I'm not really too sure what to think of these, but we shall see later on. And by the way, I'm not going to be streaming the build, just like I said in my post from yesterday, so I'm going to be taking this in, I'm going to be studying the mechanics of this guy, and determining on whether or not I can convert this thing back to the original Hazel. And then I'm going to be making some mods inside of the connections just to make this thing easier to dismantle, just so I can paint it later on. So obviously we do have the peel-offs and also the stickers over here. The gigantic ones for the composite shield booster are still here, which looks horrendous. And of course we do have all of the stickers for the sensors and of course the eyes. And it's really unfortunate that Bandai didn't put in more water slides for the recent Advanced Zeta kits. I think they stopped ever since the re-release, the P-Bandai re-release of the Advanced Hazels. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but I can understand if the cost of producing water slides for a model kit is higher than doing peel-offs. So hopefully a separate set will come into play. Or maybe the older kits have the identical symbols on the water slide decals. I'm not really too sure, so you can use those if you want to. But then again, also here we have the instruction manual, plain old P-Bandai Universal Century instruction manual. So you have the warnings, what not to do, parts counts in the back, the key over here, the color guide, the text color guide, and of course you have the Japan use only order sheet and QR code. The reason I do not like these is you cannot really cross compare your colors with the ones in the manual. So yeah, it's a little bit of a bummer, so you have to cross relate it with your plastic. And of course the parts count is right here, and of course a lot of crosses. Of course we started with the torso, and then moving on in here we have the head, and then of course the arms down here. I'm really excited to see how the new mechanics will come into play, because if anything, if this can be converted into an updated Hazel, then I'm all for it. It's worth it even if you do not like the Hyzenthlay armor. Of course, here's the second arm, the shoulders, right shoulder, left shoulder, top half complete. Of course, the feet, and also you sandwich the leg gear into it. Of course, the other leg. Moving on up over here, so you have more of the legs, and then opening on up down here. Yes, that's the legs completed. You have the waist, and then the full body completed. Yes, as I suspected, the dummy subarms are not going to be able to hold anything, so it's kind of a moot point to have subarms on your crotch when they cannot actually function in the model kit. But maybe I can understand it better when I build the kit. But it's really unfortunate that you have the Woundworks arms down there when you cannot hold anything at all. And of course then we have down to the backpack, and of course you need to angle it and then put on the thrusters. Hopefully they improve that as well. And then you have the beam saber mounted onto the back, and then the weapons down here. the composite shield booster basically share the same mechanic, the same construction, so there's nothing really too different here. But this time you do have a piece for the collapsed blade, because as you guys may know, the composite shield booster can fold its blade towards the back when in chrome mode or in some sort of like a storm mode, I don't know. But you can flip the blade in the composite shield booster, but you cannot do it in the actual Gunpla. So Bandai actually provided a piece for us to fold the blade in, which is pretty nice. Quote-unquote fold, by the way. This doesn't actually have a folding blade, which I really hope they do. And of course you do have the Hazel beam rifle and then the decal guides. So this is a lengthy one because there is a lot of pieces in here, a lot of duplicate plates, like different plates that are named the same. So obviously this thing is gonna get a little bit confusing, but here we are, the TR-1 Hyzenthlay. So hopefully this thing does live up to my expectations, because you're trying to remodel an entire kit, basically like 95% of the kit, to a new, update these standards. Of course, we've seen it with the Build Gamma Gundam. It doesn't really age well. Of course, with the Quattro Baginas, Revive, Radius, we've seen that as well. So hopefully this thing is gonna have reasonable updates to bring this back up to modern standards, and hopefully get me excited for the Hyzenthlay Ra 2. I'm gonna be getting that because it has the Rolls-Royce V-fin, which is a little bit weird to say, but then again, I'm gonna be building this kit in my own time. I'm gonna be studying this thing, and I'm gonna be making mods to it so as to make this thing easier to dismantle when it comes to customization and painting. So that's gonna wrap it up for me. Hopefully you're excited, and I'll see you all in the next video.